The presidential candidate of Labour Party, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, traveled last week to Bangladesh where he participated in the investment forum and traders, in Bangladesh, where he gave one of the keynotes. It was one of the keynote speaker at the event, and it talks about the Commonwealth nations and how can they do high level of investment among the Commonwealth nations and all of that. And His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi nailed it. This is what we talked about. When you look at the way His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi was speaking or addressing the world leaders in Bangladesh, and you look at the way our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was, lonely at the top, just like Aseke said, in India during the summit at the India with all other world leaders. It shows Nigerians that something is missing. I haven't seen what happened on the 25th of February 2023, where the election was massively rigged and Bola Ahmed Tinubu was declared the winner, even when he never meet with the constitutional requirement to be the president of Nigeria. Now, reactions keep coming in that Nigerians are already losing it. They are losing one of the best property that they will ever have as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Knowing fully well that in most parts of the world, people look forward to Nigeria because it's one of the largest black nations on earth. Now, you look at Nigerian economy, it's one of the largest economy in Africa. Then when you talk about, institution and things acquired in Nigeria, if Nigeria is stable, Africa will be stable and there will be massive development in Africa. But before I show you or give you the video of His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, where he delivered a very powerful speech at Bangladesh, here is the road safety officer that was crushed somewhere in Lagos yesterday. When we talked about these road safety officers among the VIOs and those traffic warders and all of that, when somebody beat traffic lights, when somebody does something wrong, I think the world has evolved enough that we should stop chasing, climbing people's vehicles and all of that. What's the essence of all this? Now, he has lost his life and the work goes on. We should please try to stop all this, and I believe that the road safety department, they should do better, talking to their staffs and even the VIO, as well as the last man and the police, the traffic warders. Let's stop all this kind of. Now look at what happened to this young man. Anyway, here is a video of His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi addressing the world business leaders in Bangladesh.
I would like to invite for some opening remarks, Mr. Peter Obi. Now, Peter Obi is a long-time entrepreneur, a business leader, and an eminent politician from Nigeria. Mr. Obi's sense of enterprise fostered his involvement in local and national Nigerian politics, including his role as governor of Anambra. So please help me in welcoming him to the stage. Peter Obi.
You're going to sit here for your speech, for your words.
Well, I thought we were all panelists, but let me start by most sincerely thanking Prime Minister Hassania and the good people of Bangladesh for hosting us, and Lord Moreland and his team for organizing this workshop. We're here to discuss SMEs, and all of us knows that SMEs, like it's been mentioned by the President, today is the engine of growth in most countries of the world. Not just developing countries, but developed countries of the world. According to the last World Bank studies and survey, SMEs is about 90% of the businesses and creates over 50% of the job globally. in developing and emerging markets like Bangladesh, they contribute over 40% of the GDP. In Nigeria, it's a similar situation. Over 45% of the GDP. In places like China, they contribute over 60%, creating 7 out of every 10 jobs. In India, it's similar impact. So across the Commonwealth countries, you can say it's creating the same impact. Commonwealth country, as you know today, is the 56th nation of the Commonwealth, is about 2.5 billion in population, a third of the world, with over 1 billion young population and over 1 trillion in exports. However, the Commonwealth, if you look at the wealth of the Commonwealth, is about over 150 trillion, which you can say is about 10 times the size of the GDP of the Commonwealth, because the last time I looked at it, the Commonwealth GDP, total GDP is about 14.5 trillion. And over 30 times the total world export of about 5 trillion. What we are going to discuss today is the issue of how to formalization and internationalization of SMEs, which is critical for the Commonwealth as a family. By supporting, internationalizing, and formalizing the SMEs, would have created wealth across the entire world, because Commonwealth countries exist in almost 5 continents of the world. So by formalizing and internationalizing SMEs, you actually come across the entire world by ensuring the growth of this engine of development. But there's a problem within the SMEs, which I'm sure the panelists will be giving attention to. While this critical engine of growth is what is desired in today's world to be able to develop, especially, I keep saying, within the Commonwealth family, because if you look at the scope of what they are going to add is huge. If you look at the global economy, while I say they are a third of the population of the world, but if you look at the world GDP, it's about 100 trillion, and you look at the GDP of the Commonwealth, it's 14.5 trillion, which means they're just about 15% of it. If you look at the per capita, the global per capita of the world is about $10.7, $10,700. But within the Commonwealth family, it is just $3,500. So you could see there's a lot of scope for growth, because most of the countries in the Commonwealth family are actually within the poor countries of the world, with so much potential. And to drive this potential and create this fortune that is sustained development across the Commonwealth, you need to support the SMEs, because these are the engine of growth, considering the amount of job they create and the impact they have, and they will be able, and this is where you have your youths who are starting entrepreneurship, building entrepreneurship, and that's where they are, and you must support them. The critical things they have is, one, it is, what you can say is, it has local peculiarities, but there are some that are across virtually all the countries, especially in developing and emerging markets. One is the issue of finance. Today, if you look at virtually all the countries, even within the commonwealth countries, you'll find out that the level of funding gap within the SMEs are huge. In most countries, they will be lucky if they're able to get up to 30% of their requirements. I know in Nigeria in particular, it is below that. In Bangladesh here, it is about 30-something%. And in most countries that I studied, it's a similar situation. So the funding gap is huge because banks and lending institutions prefer to lend to the corporates rather than lend to this engine of growth because of, again, it has to do with issues of formalization, issues of internalization, and other things that are associated with it. So lending to them is difficult, and they avoid it. Two is the issue of taxation. You have all sorts of local taxations that are applied to them, and everything. The regulatory environment is hostile to them. I always use Nigeria as an example. The corporates are big and everything and can get away with so many things that the small businesses can't get away with. They have issues of infrastructure, poor infrastructure. In Nigeria, you look at electricity issues to road, like Lord Molan said today when we were talking about Cameroon, and he said they have similar road conditions as Bangladesh. These are issues that you see in most of the emerging markets, and this affects more small businesses. They have issues where, because of lack of formalization, they are not able to explore international markets. So these are issues that affect them. To deal with these issues, the Commonwealth, as a family, needs to intervene in various countries, and various countries look at their policy. If they have a policy that is targeted, a favorable policies that is targeted to SMEs, to help them to formalize, have proper registrations and everything, which are happening in some countries like China and Indonesia today, that have a special ministries and departments that focus on support of SMEs. This will go a long way in helping them to formalize, help them to have all the registrations, and a competitive government having favorable policies that will support them. Again, on issue of financing, countries have to look at the overall credit of the nation and the overall this, and probably dedicate a particular percentage of credit or lending to SMEs, like it is in China. It's about 25%. And similar situation in Indonesia. I must say that credits to SMEs in Bangladesh have been quite impressive, though not what it should be. But in other countries, like in Nigeria and Africa, they need to do more. There needs to be a dedicated percentage of the overall country credit lending that should go to SMEs, being that this is the engine in which those countries can grow and be able to build sustainable development and improve their economy. You need to have a situation where not just policies, there should be a clear physical support where government are supporting businesses and monetary support, like it's happened in China and Indonesia and other places. With these favorable policies and everything, we'll be able to start turning around the economies within the Commonwealth families. Like I said before, there's opportunity for growth within the Commonwealth family if you have a situation where you have support, clear support within the SMEs, and they're giving the support for internationalization within this family. You could easily double the export. You could easily double the intertrade within this huge family, which cuts across 5 continents, and with that, increase the overall well-being. I showed you the gap that while the average per capita is 10,700, they are 3,500. So imagine today if you double that per capita. Imagine today if you double that their GDP. Because if they are a third of the population of the world, their GDP should also be a third of the world, not 15%. So there's quite a gap that you can close if you get it right by favorable support within the Commonwealth family. And this is something that is achievable. Thank you for listening.
As Mr. Obi over there, and you could see how he delivered that speech, powerfully well. But then, what do we say about the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Drop your comment, as Nigerians keep reacting to what is going on across Nigeria regarding the president, the way he's handling the situations in Nigeria.